Hello my fellow brave adventurers, Brian here from D&D Awakening, and in this story we see how far D&D can really take us, and not always in a good way. So if you are new here and you've not already done so, and don't want to miss out on amazing daily content, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click that bell icon to be notified every time we upload a new video. On to the story. The very last time I ever played in a D&D campaign. I thought this might be appropriate here. I was going to post it in r/D&D Stories, but then it occurred to me that this is more horrific than ordered gameplay ought, so I decided to put it here. Before I get into the story, a little background. It was a D&D campaign with everyone refers to as 1E these days. This campaign took place back in the early 80s and all of us were in junior high together. To put some perspective on what we were like for those who can't imagine what it was like back in the age before cell phones, allow me to explain. In school we played a game called Flinch, where you would make a sudden, unexpected and aggressive move towards someone. Anyone. It did not have to be one of your friends or even anyone you knew, but usually played against acquaintances. If they flinched or made a defensive move, you got to thump them. They would have to stand still and you got to hammer them right in the sternum with the stiff fingers as hard as you cared to. If they did not flinch, however, they got to do it to you instead. This was a fun game and we were the nerds. In our gaming group we continued this general attitude of weeding out the weaklings. If you were creating a character and said, "Hey, can you pass the..." this is as far as you got because the player's handbook was already in the air coming straight for your head. If you got hit, then you got laughed at. We did lots of things like that. We were a very unforgiving group. On the plus side, things like these kept everyone very focused. We never had to wait around for people to make up their mind about their PC was going to do, since everyone was formulating their plans of action while the DM did something with everyone else. Now, with everyone having their own agenda and whatnot, we devised a system of passing notes to the GM for performing actions which we were keeping secret from the rest of the players. Mostly this was mundane things like robbing random houses in the town at night, picking the pocket of an NPC, popping off to the outfitter to stock up on arrows, or off to the temple to load up on some healing potions. So notes were being passed constantly and we kept our private affairs private, unless your note went away and someone else saw it. We did not roll dice to see if other players noticed your behaviour. It was simple. Bob the Barbarian wanders off. Cedric the Cleric, you are shagging the barmaid. Great! Roll a save versus poison or get the clap. And so on. Another thing we did, which will become important later, was that if your character died, the rest of us looted the body and then we burned your character sheet. Temples didn't raise the dead for a modest fee. If the party did not have resurrection or raise the dead, your body would rot where it dropped. That's just how we rolled. It's how we played. In this campaign, we had one new player, the DM's cousin, and the rest of us were regulars. Altogether there were 6 of us in our party, playing our tried and true characters. Mine was the now infamous Rogan the Red, a human fighter assassin, although nobody knew he was an assassin. Or that is how I like to play it anyway. I always thought it was silly that assassins ran around looking like assassins. That kind of defeated the purpose of being stealthy and whatnot. And given the way the game mechanics worked, I found that trying to murder people with 1d4 damage was ludicrous, so I tended to use a Batstar sword. It was easier. For this gaming session we were starting the most legendary of modules, the one that every playing group ran once they got high enough level, strength 3, the expedition to the Berry's Peak. Everybody liked the idea of having grenades, power armor, blaster pistols. I mean, why not, right? The backdrop was the default intro. King Genericus, or whatever his name was, calls out for his brave adventurers to find out where all the weird monsters are coming from that are eating the taxpayers' base. We were the motley crew which showed up. That explained why most of us didn't know each other. And so, it begins. The DM decided that this module was for a much larger group, so he let everyone else make a second character rather than having run a bunch of red shirts. I say everyone else because he had something against my character in general, and me in particular, I later came to discover. Plus I was a 5th level fighter and 10th level assassin, so he figured I didn't need another character since I was already level 15. Everyone else was good, unless contradicted by class restrictions like the druid or thief. Rogue wasn't a thing yet, but since I was an assassin, I was meh. I played the character as pretty much pure neutral aside from the whole murder for hire thing, but I never saw that as any different from what PCs did in the time anyway. But I digress. The very first thing out of the DM's mouth when we all sat down was to tell his cousin's paladin he's evil, while pointing at me. Needless to say, I was a bit put out about this. I'm not one for rules lawyering, but we had all pretty much understood that things like the Paladin's detect evil ability were conscious effects, meaning you had to specifically tell the DM you were using it for it to work, and that it really only worked when the target actually had evil intent. Since the new precedent was that he detected my PC's general evilness, I realised very quickly that this would completely overshadow specific instances of evil intent in the future. This was where he screwed the pooch. If he had not done this, then the ending would have been completely different, and he had no one to blame but himself. Immediately, this put everyone else, who each had 2 characters at level 10, against me for no other reason than my alignment. Never mind the fact that I'd played with the rest of them for a couple of years and we all got along fine. They knew which side their bread was buttered on though, and since the DM and his cousin had their eyes on me, it would serve the rest of them right to keep an eye on my PC as well. To his credit, however, the DM neglected to actually inform anyone that my primary class was Assassin. I was, after all, a hulking brute with an 1883 strength, wearing plate mail and carrying a sword of sharpness, so my ability to do assassin things was entirely outside of their notice. Right from the start, they had me on point, but that did not bother me much. We got to the crash spaceship and got inside the top level and started to explore. There were a few fights where they made me tank and did not bother helping me with healing. Thanks guys. They saved their spells and made me use up some of my healing potions. Fine. We were poisoned by gas at one point, during which I discovered that one of the other players' throwaway characters had a +1 period of proof against poison. I didn't steal it right away, but I made a note of that for later. Shortly thereafter we found one of the key cards that allowed us access to the elevator. The DM was not at all clear about describing things, so when he had everyone open a door with a key card and all pile in, I was just happy I wasn't on point anymore. Then the doors close and the rest of the party is hell and gone, leaving me all alone with no way to rejoin them. So during the course of the next hour or so, the rest of the party explores several rooms while I'm left to my own devices. I got into fights with 3 random encounters while the main party did not. I survived. Go me! During my exploration I found a grey card, however, so I'm happy I can rejoin the party. But I don't. Instead, I try and loot other rooms where I'm at, and that's when the DM makes his fatal mistake. While I was rummaging through what I presumed to be an alchemist's lab, I discover a wonderful powder which grants infravision, a few mild poisons, some jars of strong acid, and then the mother of all poisons. It is very important to point out at this junction that the state of the poison I found were a munchkin attempt to permanently take me out. The DM ruled that the sweet smelling green powder, which I subsequently tasted, was a very powerful nerve agent. He informed me that because I tasted it I had to make a save versus poison at a -10. I rolled a 20 and was very gleeful. Then he rolls again and informs me I have 3 HP left. Yes, you heard that correct. The poison is so toxic that if you make your save, you only have 1d4 HP left. So I'm pretty pissed off at this point, but I have a ton of this poison, so I put it away for a rainy day. Drink the last of my healing potions and try and survive until the end of this module. I really wasn't paying attention after this point, pleading self-preservation due to low HP, which nobody heals. Thanks guys. I offer fire support with my bow and avoid melee the rest of the game. We played every day after school for a week to finish the beast of a module. There was a lot to it. The paladin got his power armor, the other fighters got his blaster rifle and grenades, and they tried to give me the shaft. And on the way home I picked one fellow's pocket of one item, which I replaced with a nearly identical appearing item. Because I swapped gemstone for valuable gemstones, the DM does not put up too much of a fuss when I pilfer the cleric's periat. At the very end we are in the inn, licking our wounds and splitting up the treasure. This is where the DM got too clever for his own good. Being a somewhat realistic-minded bunch, it was standard practice not to wear armour or carry heavy weapons in towns. The DM made a point to bring this to everyone's awareness. For the after party, nobody was armed with anything more dangerous than a dagger, and nobody had any armour. Well, except maybe the mages with their magical braces and wizard robes, but that barely counts as armour. I asked very quickly if there is time for me to buy wine for the party. I had to spend 500 gold on a cask of wine, enough for all of us. More punishment for being evil, I suppose. I then hand the wine over to the innkeeper's wife and pay her extra not to drink it when she pours it into jugs and serve it to the party. Yes, I did that. So, we all write quick notes about what we are bringing to the party. I pass a note to the DM about checking the other players, but there are no surprises. Nobody brings any serious weapons, since there are weapons in the loot of the table anyway, and the last thing anybody's expecting is a fight. I write my note and pass it to him, and I made a note on the back which I will point out later. I had 3 daggers, all magical, my +2 ring of protection, and my newly pilfered periat. The DM's cousin's other character, the same cleric I lifted the periat off, arrives late with a bag of holding and adds its content to the pile of treasure we're all going to pick from. I immediately recognise my sword of sharpness, my +3 plate mail, my bow and magic arrows, and all my other valuables which I'd left up in my room. The DM reasoned that since I steal from the other players, that it's only fair. They get to go through my stuff and take whatever they want. Since I'm outnumbered and outgunned by a dozen level 15+ wizards, clerics, rangers, bards and druids, I really don't have much of a choice in the matter. Me being me, I make an attempt to point out the unfairness, but the DM overrules me. Not unexpected, I suppose, at this point. He pushes on with the party and they plan to drink the wine I bought while they split up all the money and things between themselves and have a good laugh. So they toast on it and we all drink. A few of the players were a little leery since it was the wine, but when they see my drink they all drink as well. And I was counting on that. That is, after all, the purpose of a toast. To slosh the wine between all of the cups so everyone drinks the same thing. And I stop everyone at that point and announce to the entire group, everyone make a save against poison at -10. There was a moment of intense consternation, then the DM reads the back of the note I gave him earlier and realises what the fuck I just did to everyone. Or rather, what he did to everyone. With that nerve toxin in the wine, everybody needs a very high saving throw just to survive with 1d4 HP. The paladin died, his cleric died, the ranger died, the druid died, the bard died. I hate bards, so yay! Everyone died. The only ones who made their roll were the thief and one of the wizards. Everyone else died instantly. Then it was my turn to roll a save. The DM looked pretty smug since he was sure I couldn't get another natural 20, but I didn't need to. I had the periat, so I only needed to make a regular save with no negative modifiers. I think I rolled an 11 or something stupid, passed easily. He gave me 1 HP left just to be a dick, I suppose. Before anyone else realised they needed to do anything, I threw a poison dagger at the wizard and jumped the thief. Wizard dead, thief dead, and that was that. It turns out it actually is easy to kill people with a dagger when you only have 4 HP. I think my strength bonus damage was higher than their hit points. They never had a chance. I wish at the time I knew the phrase hoist on his own petard because it would have been fitting. He never expected me to do anything like that with something he had made up just to get me. I wasn't just a good assassin, I was a great assassin. He never gave me my experience points for killing all those high level monsters either, but I did burn that character's sheet. That point was non-negotiable. They didn't like it, but that was how we rolled. So my fellow adventurers, what do you think of this horror show? Comment below and let me know, and if you enjoyed the video and want more daily content like this, then please hit both that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.